tough bar, and he was a tough guy, and he had a going bet that he came in, ordered a couple of drinks, that he could take a lemon, cut it in half, squeeze it, and get to the point where there is nothing left in there, that if anybody could come along, and the bet was, if you could squeeze another drop out of that lemon, for every drop you got out of it, he would give you $100. Well, a lot of people came along and they tried to take him up on it, and a lot of big, strong guys, and nobody ever got a drop out of the lemon. Finally, after a period of time, a guy came in, did not look that impressive. He was kind of dressed more like I am, didn't look that tough and powerful, but he said, I'll take you up on that. So the guy went, he squeezed his lemon, and he got it all out, and the little guy with the suit took the lemon, he squeezed, and a drop came out, and another drop, and finally 6 drops came out. The bartender was impressed. He said, you just don't look like you're the kind of guy who could do this. What do you do for a living? He said, well, I work for Revenue Canada. Why do we find that funny? We've all dealt with them at some point. Do you know what's interesting, though, is the Bible makes it clear that taxes are not important. They're not a big deal. The Bible was written in a time of unjust, unfair taxes, which did benefit to nobody who was paying them. And the Bible comes along and says, do not fret about it. It's not a big deal. Do not let taxes cloud your vision of Jesus, of heaven. See, we're not supposed to be captivated on the things that are on this planet, but our eyes are to be captivated by the things above. We've been looking at the Sermon on the Mount the last several months. And I've said throughout it that it's all about keeping us captivated. Some hard lessons. We recently talked about how prayer, generosity are not to make us look better, because that takes our eyes off of Christ. Instead, they're to unclutter our vision. Last week we found out that treasures abound. Some are useless, and some are great. I came in here with 2 gift certificates, and one entitled you to get anything you want at a BMW dealership, 1 item. And the other one said you could have any 1 item at a dollar store. You know, in spiritual terms, it's amazing how many people take the dollar store. Because God has something better for us than the things of this world. Things that matter forever, rather than things that just matter for the moment. And as such, we need to adjust our attitudes and think accordingly. But it's so hard because all we really understand is the material world around us. It's all we can see. So Jesus comes along, and last week he said, so let the light shine into our lives clearly. Do not let things cloud our vision, but work towards the things that leave our vision towards Jesus clear. Understand what helps you worship well, and understand what keeps you from worshiping well. There are many examples that we can come up with of things that can cloud our vision. Jesus comes up with 2. 2 very powerful examples. We're going to look at one of them this week, and we're going to look at the other in 2 weeks after we've done a communion service. And the 2 things he comes up with that really cloud a lot of people's visions are money and worry. Money and worry. Now, in 2,000 years since Jesus spoke these words, has anything changed? Those are still probably the 2 biggest things that I can come up with that can cloud our vision. And so this week we're going to talk about money, and I know that's everybody's favorite topic to talk about. But the Bible has a lot to say because money can help us in our Christian life, but it can also really pull us away. No one can serve 2 masters, for either he will hate the one and love the other, or he will be devoted to the one and despise the other. You cannot serve God and money. Short and sweet, there's a conflict here. Unbridled consumerism, pursuit of wealth, coveting, they all pull us away from Jesus. And we are to keep our eyes clearly focused on the things of heaven. Money, materialism are all about the here and the now. I told a story quite a long time ago, and I thought it was pertinent to bring it back up. It's the story of a rabbi who got a visit from a very wealthy member of his community. And he knew the man to be both wealthy and miserly and a little bit miserable. And the man confessed to the rabbi, "I'm not satisfied. My life seems empty. All I know is money." And the very wise rabbi said, "Here, I want you to come see something." And he had him walk towards the window in his office. He said, "I want you to look out the window and I want you to see what you see." And they were on a busy street. He said, "I can see men and women and children out there walking along and going about their business." I said, "Okay. Now I want you to come with me." He took him to another part of an office, and there was a mirror there. And he said, "I want you to look in the mirror and tell me what you see." And he said, "Well, obviously I see myself." And the wise rabbi said this, "In the window there is glass. In the mirror there is glass. But the glass in the mirror is covered with a little bit of silver. And no sooner is the silver added than you cease to see others, and you only see yourself." Makes sense. We know that we work hard, we do things, we tend to become more possessive, and it takes away our vision of God. Author by the name Pauline Tan, who wrote that there's many things the money cannot buy. Said money can buy you a bed but not sleep. It can buy you books but not brains. It can buy you food but not an appetite. It can buy you finery but not beauty. It can buy you a house but not a home. It can buy you medicine but not health. It can buy you pleasure but it cannot buy you peace. It can buy you luxuries but not culture. It can buy you amusements but not joy. It can buy you a crucifix, but it cannot buy you a Savior. It can buy you a church building, but it cannot buy you heaven. Does anybody here doubt that? So far, anything I've said, anybody want to dispute? Does money make you all happy? Anybody having a problem with this so far? I doubt anybody is. I don't think anybody would argue me, and yet. I told the care group on Thursday afternoon that I was going to say this story, so they still have to look surprised. For the rest of us, I was reading recently that there was a survey of Canadians taken last year. Not Americans, not people far away, Canadians. And it asked them this question: would $1 million fix all the problems in your life? What percentage do you think said yes to that of Canadians last year? That I'm getting $1 million on top of whatever else you bring in would fix all your problems in your life. We talked about this in our Thursday group. Somebody said 50%, somebody said 60%. I kept pointing higher. They finally stopped at about 80%. I said, no, you got to go higher yet. 90% of Canadians said $1 million would fix all the problems in their life. 90% of Canadians. 90%. $1 million, tax-free, straight up, 1 million extra cool dollars in your bank account. I saw that question, and do you know what my reaction was? That's ridiculous. No way. I went away, thinking, I confess that my mind started going, thinking, yeah, it wouldn't fix all our problems in life, but sure would give us some more breathing room, wouldn't it?
More.
Started to think about, there'd be a lot more family fun things we could do. You know, our family could do some more stuff. We could, that could draw us closer together, couldn't it? Maybe there's good things I can do with the money. I don't know why, but that's where my mind started. And I'm going to bet I wouldn't be the only one who could start thinking that way. Not that I would say would solve all my problems, but all of a sudden my mind going starts to play. Not a chance would solve all the problems, and yet. And even though we know, and everybody, that 90% who would have said yes to that survey, every one of them probably knew that it would never satisfy them fully. But maybe things might be better. Maybe it could help. Isaiah 42 verse 8 is a verse that gets repeated 6 chapters later. And when you find a repeat in the Bible, it usually means some emphasis. It says this, I am the Lord. That is my name. My glory I give to no other. It's very clear. Do you know what? Our help is not found in finances. We might look at that and say, well, we've got some family issues. Maybe we can fix them. Do you know what? There are miracles that fix family issues, not money. Got debt problems? You know what? Living simply according to the biblical rules is our hope, not money. Following Jesus is our salvation, nothing else. God alone is the Savior. Jesus is the only one who will tolerate being the Savior. He's not interested in sharing, and yet, how often is it we can give our weekends to God and yet our weeks devoted to money? It's not how it works. A divided allegiance never works. We always end up giving our allegiance to what immediately satisfies. Not which takes work, not which is a journey, but that which is immediate. Older translations of this Matthew 6:24 say you cannot serve God and mammon. It's an odd thing that the translations left the original word in there. Mammon was originally a Middle Eastern god of money. And making it very clear that this has to do with where we worship. Money is not evil. There's nothing moral about it. I've occasionally been known to use it. In fact, I even brought some up to the pulpit with me. It's not that there's something wrong with this. What do I have? I have $30. Cool. It's not the point. Last week we talked about this idea of a clouded vision was from the idea of cataracts, a clouded lens of the eye. It keeps us from allowing the fullness of Christ to enter into my life. But you know what? It is so easy with money to allow that to cloud my vision. To doing whatever it takes to get it. To be willing to cheat. To be willing to sacrifice people to get it. These things cloud my vision from being able to see Jesus. I don't think a lot of people would argue this here. But the question is how do we uncloud our vision? We know we've got it off pretty well. I got a letter from Tim Joswald on Friday. He's a missionary in Niger, Africa. He's been in our church many times with his wife Brenda. And he writes about this person who's working for them, and they met his wife and discussing what poor shape she was in, and she was malnourished, and they had a doctor examine her, and he thought she might be pregnant, but the malnourishment, he couldn't really tell, and they couldn't get any tests done. So they were trying to help her, and he finishes with this statement. If you want to be rich, move to Africa. When you get to Africa, you start to realize that we are so rich. We want to respond generously from the blessing the Lord has given us. Problem is, as we move towards having unclouded vision, that there is something so subtle at work in our lives. Everything